let me talk to you about the journey here and how it went. I got up at 5 o'clock, which was quite early because I had to sort out my aviary. I'm leaving the aviary unattended whilst I'm away, so that means leaving the flights open so the birds can get in and out. They've got enough seed to last them for a week, so it should hold. It's the amount I'd usually use. And I have made sure that there is water bowls everywhere. Hopefully I don't lose a few, but I had to get up. Sorry, I'm all sort of like sweaty. Long day's travel. I had to get up early to do that. At 6 o'clock my father arrived and we went by car to Newcastle International Airport. Never been to Newcastle International Airport before, and as British airports go, it is one of the best that I've experienced, certainly. I got there about 7:45. My flight was due to leave at 11:50. You're supposed to be there 3 hours in advance for an international flight. You never need to be, but you're supposed to be, and I wanted to be earlier than that, because you know me, I don't really mind sort of waiting around. I can fill in my journal or whatever. So I was dropped off at the drop-off area. I had my bag with me, this camera bag, my normal bag, and I had a suitcase. And this is my money pouch, which I usually wear. Anyway, so the first thing I did was I went in and I scoped out the place, and you go in and downstairs, when you go in, if you go to the right, you've got the entranceway that goes out to the metro. Now that's important because on the way back I'm travelling by train home, and I need to get from the airport to the train station in Newcastle, and that's by the metro, so I know where that is now. In front of you is the check-in desks. Mine was from 17 to 19, and you read it on the board. As you come in, behind you are the information desks for all the airlines. So I was able to go to them and say, look, will these electronic tickets work? They wanted me to do self-scan check-in. I don't do machines. So I just went to the desk and they sorted it out for me. But before that I sort of walked around the bottom, went out through the main exit, because I found out where the people come back if they're international, people come back if they're EU. So I knew where I was coming out when I came back. And then I sort of walked around the car park outside again, went back in, checked in, up to security. You go upstairs. The security was, how do I put this, less stringent than 5 years ago when I travelled to the US. And the e-tickets, you know, they just literally type in the number and print out the boarding pass. That might be a little bit difficult on the way back because the airport at Fiumicino is slightly different. I'll talk about that when we get that far. So up I went, and of course you get the usual where you have to take off anything that's metal and put it through the scanners, and then you go through the metal detector, and then I had to take my shoes off because the long and short of it is that's what kept setting off the scanner. So once that was done, I was able to walk around the sort of little duty-free area, and then I went down to the gates and waited in the sort of lounge there, where there's a big board that tells you when your gate comes up, and then off you go. The first journey was the most unpleasant bit, I think, of the day, mainly because the flight was the aircraft was terribly small, and we were crushed in like sardines. I was able to get a window seat, which was good, in both flights, and I think that was because I managed to check in early, so that was good. Unfortunately, I had this little Frenchman that was sat next to me who did want to read his paper. Now, he was obviously good at origami, because every few minutes this paper went up in the air, sort of fluttered around, and then came down on the page he wanted. He didn't actually manage to knock me or the woman that was sat next to him out, which I thought was quite good. I thought they were a couple, but she was reading an English paper and he was reading a French paper, so I don't know if they were or not. The journey was quite a long one, and throughout that point in time my mobile phone was not working. It continued not to work when I got to France. Now the French airport that I landed in was Charles de Gaulle International Airport in Paris. It's just outside Paris, in fact. And if you can imagine about 2 or 3 polytunnels, it looks like that from the air. It's really weird, because it's basically a glass sort of semicircular sort of building, and there are several bits that come off it, but it's quite an engineering, it's very pretty to look at, and quite spacious inside as well. So unfortunately I had to go through security again between getting off and getting to the other gate where my flight was. I had an hour, which was fine because the flight that came in was on time, so I wasn't running. It's quite a long way between terminals. It's not quite Chicago International, but it's quite a long way. So I was glad for the hour, and I was able to get something to eat there as well, which was quite good. Although I happen to think that, sort of €6 for a sandwich was a little bit steep, but there we are. I didn't get a Coke in the end because that was an extra €4, and I thought, well, I'm just not going to pay that. So anyway, what happened after that? Oh yes, we got on. We had to queue to get on this one, and I was at the back of this one. I'm quite late getting on, so when I went all the way down, I had to stand everybody else up to get into the road, sit near the window. And it was a couple. It was an Italian couple that I was sat next to, and he was lovely. Spoke fantastic English, so we had a couple of conversations on the way, particularly as we were flying over the French Alps, and you could see all the snow-covered mountains out of the window. That was an incredible journey, actually. So that was again reasonably lengthy. These were about 1.5 hours plus each flight. Finally, we landed in Fiumicino, Leonardo da Vinci Airport, and it's, imagine a big spider on the ground, and all of its legs are basically tunnels, and it's like that. You sort of land, you get into the centre of it, and then you go out on all these little tangents. They're like sort of little tubes that are above roads and below roads, and it's really strange. Quite a long way, in fact, between the terminal and the Leonardo Express, the train, but it is pretty much direct. You just follow the signs. The problem I have on the return is that I don't know where the desks for the check-in actually are on the way back, so I'm going to have to check that out. But thankfully I don't leave until sort of the afternoon anyway, so I have quite a bit of time on the Friday in Italy to get that sorted out.